I got ejected 4 minutes into the game. Just can't do it. Regardless of what was said, I'm not about to get into what was said because that's irrelevant. To Steph's point, I have to be on the floor, and whatever that means, you just have to do that. I look at this, I'm not overreacting to this because of everything that happened in the beginning of the season. You know, I feel like since I've returned, everything's headed in the right direction and hit a little bump in the road, get over it, and keep going.
Bay Area is Draymond Green, and you're listening to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
I mean, I want to be as open-minded as possible. Any chance we're overreacting?
Yeah, of course. There's a chance.
Bump in the road. No big deal. Got thrown out. Be back tomorrow night. They won.
Had it been a different reaction from Steph Curry, I would say yes, because Draymond Green does a number of things. Plays great defense, distributes the ball, and gets thrown out of basketball games. Yeah. He gets texts, he yells at refs, and he gets thrown out of games. It's just what happens. Whether it's game 1, game 72, game 4 of the NBA Finals, Draymond's going to do this. It's what he does. But the way Steph reacted, not only in the moment where he had to cover his face for fear of letting the world see just how much anguish he was going through, but how about the reaction after he hits the night three? He high-fives his teammates. There's a timeout. He goes over to the bench and goes with a straight kick to a row of seats, jostling the seats. That's not a celebration that we've seen from Steph Curry.
Everything was a release last night. It was a release. It was a release of pent-up frustration.
That release, he goes night-night. He goes to the bench, and I've never seen that reaction from any player after the best moment of the night.
Yeah.
You just put the game away, and he was so, I think, angry at the whole situation that's how he reacted. That, to me, makes it so I don't think we're overreacting.
Yeah, I like your answer. By the way, we're sponsored by Lucky California. Willard and Dibs will take to your calls in just a sec. I would be more open to the idea. And by the way, when I say we're overreacting, this is everybody. Like we're getting calls and tweets and texts and everything. This is like the last night. Social media was ablaze with people who are just like, I'm so done with this guy. And it's interesting too because as he works his way back, takes one little thing, and everybody's like, I'm done. I'm done with Draymond Green. But I get it because I don't think we're overreacting. We're letting the people around the Warriors lead. At least I am. Like, it's not just what you said. You're right. Steph's reaction is Exhibit A. But Steve Kerr's comments, calling it unforgivable, that's Exhibit B. And so how can you, if you're Draymond Green, come back the next day? And I get it. He's just talking. It's just a microphone. And he says, I'm not going to overreact to this. You know what I mean? I don't know what the opposite of that is. I don't know if we want him to cry and go through some unbelievable monologue of apology. I don't even know that helps. But he has to understand how it feels to everyone around him when he goes, I'm not going to overreact. But they are. Steve Kerr and Steph Curry are reacting very significantly. They're using the word unforgivable. Steph Curry is potentially crying on the court. He is kicking a chair. He is waiting a full 24 hours and then going to Twitter and saying, I will never take these games for granted. So, that's the messaging that we're getting. And that leads, not our emotions, but their emotions. We have never, ever seen Steph Curry act that way in his whole career. What does that say to you? So I got a hard time with this. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to overreact.
Right. It's because it's a part of a narcissistic pattern of behavior where you are so self-centered that you're focused only on the me aspect of any experience. And so in the moment, Draymond Green, he beelines from the middle of the key after a foul called on Steph Curry. He beelines for the official who was not involved in the call that stopped play, but he goes for the official who made a bad call on him 45 seconds earlier because it's all about him. It's not about, hey, let's huddle up defensively and, maybe we're getting screwed. And as Banchero goes to shoot free throws, then maybe you sidle up to the ref in that moment and you say, Come on, ref. Come on, Ray. You blew that one. I didn't foul him. Instead, you beeline for him because it's all about you. It's the selfishness. It's the narcissism. And then even after the fact, he does his podcast. And I think that fans want what they're never going to get, which is contrition and a real sense of like self-awareness of like, whoa, I did it again. I'm really sorry, Dub Nation. I lost my cool. I put our team in a bad spot. Thank goodness my brothers picked me up. And you know what? I'm working on myself. I'm doing all this stuff to be a better man. We want that from Draymond, but we are never going to get that because he is so wrapped up in his own self.
You're right, but I don't even know if today that would have worked. This is not a words situation anymore. This is an action situation. And so you're back to square one, and you got to go up the staircase again. This is, to me, a classic anthill night. We all know that, you kick over an anthill, and what do? They immediately start working on building it back up. And that's where we're at, whether he thinks it's not a big deal or not. Last night, the Draymond Green's mental side is improving. Anthill got knocked down and now needs to start over. And it was not because he didn't turn his shoulder in time.
Right.
The TV cameras don't, I know there's a lot going on culturally here, right? Where we're all from, what we say. I'm not going to put my morality clause on that. I'm going to simply tell you, though, the NBA does not want you mouthing those words on television.
Right.
They just don't. So you can think that's lame, but that's the deal. They're the boss. They don't want that. And that is a big deal. The other side to it, though, is the greatest player who has ever put this uniform on is doubled over in emotional pain. Okay? Doubled over in emotional anguish as you leave the court to go do a podcast to say, I'm not going to overreact to this. I don't know that's my thing. Who cares about us? Honestly.
Yeah.
But how does that not get to you, Draymond? Maybe it does. Maybe there was a tearful moment at halftime. And so maybe if that's the case, man, I'll get out of the way. But how does that not crush you if you're Draymond Green? How could you do Steph Curry like that?
Right.
After all you guys have achieved together, how does that not crush your soul?
Because he doesn't have that awareness of what his actions do and how they impact those around him. And if he had more of an awareness of that, he would have made more dramatic moves to change his behavior. And you can go all the way back to the NBA Finals in 2016 when he gets suspended in Game 4 and they go on to lose it. If that wasn't going to be a wake-up call, then I don't know what would be. And I think that it's a mix of anger issues, temper control, and narcissism, because you don't go on and do a podcast like that and basically double down and say ostensibly what he's saying is the biggest problem with his whole 90-second tirade was where his shoulders were facing.
Angles.
It was an issue of angles. It was geometry, Mark.
The angles of my profanity.
It was geometry.
That'd be a good album name. The angles of my profanity.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's pretty good.
All right. Should we take some calls?
Let's.
One of our favorites is on the line. Judy and Moraga. Always
Judy!
Judy on the Warriors.
I was just out at Judy's spot about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
On another date night. Supper and I were in Walnut Creek.
And who did you call to talk to on that date night?
No one.
Okay.
We were looking for a nightcap. I was in need of a closer. And so we went to Buon Vino.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go to Dibs, half in the bag.
Yeah, you should have
No.
called Judy. She would have joined you. And
Her son was there.
Yeah, you could have talked it out. But we'll just do it now instead. Hi, Judy.
Hi, guys. I heard from Dan, Dan, that you guys were in, and I was so bummed that I missed you, but I loved that you went and that we got a chance to just talk about the Warriors, and I couldn't help but think the last time I got through to both of you, and I love getting through to you guys because you guys talk about the things that I really think matter to a lot of us. And when I called in, if you recall, we were talking about Draymond. We were talking about, was it behavior? Was it personality? Was it mental health? We talked about the, special that was on about his anger issues. I'm really the best way I could sum it up is when I look at Steph Curry, I see joy. I see a person who's all in. I see a person who's a team first person. And when I look at Draymond, Dan, you said it, I see such a selfish, not a team player. It's an I mentality. It's what about me, center stage. And I am affected by seeing Steph cry because the Warriors have been my team for so long, and he has contributed so much to my joy in my life watching them. And if you guys remember, at Bonvino, I actually cried. And that's how sad when I see a team like this that I want so much to win so we can celebrate, so we can have a team we're so proud of. I'm embarrassed when I watch the fans clapping that Draymond is ejected. And it's like, oh, good, he's gone. It's sickening. So I guess I would say I'm a pathological optimist. I keep hoping that we're gonna get to the finals again. But do it for your team. Show up like you should as a human, and knock it off. It's just it gets so old.
Judy,
Thank you, Judy.
You want him on the team anymore or not?
I don't.
Yeah, that's big.
Wow.
That's big. Judy, thank you. It's always great to hear from you.
Judy says, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And I wonder about, and again, this is more of a off-season question.
Go bye-bye.
Thank you, Grandy. We can kick it around, but it's kind of a two-piece because if the answer is yes, then the follow-up question is the big one, which is how. I mean, if you want him, if they want him gone, how?
I've had this conversation about all of these guys. Like, first of all,
Right.
okay, take all big three for a second.
Okay.
Klay Thompson, how does he go? Well, you'd have to just let him go.
Right.
I don't even know if anybody wants to do that. It depends on what Klay is offered. But there's none of you out there right now, at least I don't think. There'd be very few of you that if I said Klay Thompson, 2 years, $40 million, you'd be like, that's fine.
Please.
Yeah, let's keep
Let him be the sixth man.
Sure. You would do that.
Yes.
And is somebody else out there going to offer him 30 a year? And does he want to do that? I have no idea, I have no idea.
Right.
So that's Klay. Steph is no different than Draymond. In fact, I'd argue it's even worse. None of you want to get rid of Steph.
Ever.
Except some of you have decided that that's the only way the Warriors could actually wiggle out of this whole thing in short order. But the funny thing is none of you want to get rid of it. None of us want to get rid of Steph. None of us want to trade Steph. I don't think you could even if you wanted to.
Right.
You're dealing with someone who's making over $50 million a year.
Yep.
In order for the salaries to match to make a trade, someone would either A, have to gut their roster with 2 or 3 phenomenal players, or give you one of the other big boys of the NBA, all of whom are younger, unless he's named LeBron. Like no one. These teams, and by the way, all those players, they're all ahead of Steph in the standings. So what team's going to be like, look, we love Jokic. It's going well, but we should trade him for Steph.
Right.
Oklahoma City wouldn't even give you Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now for Steph.
He makes a fifth of what Steph makes.
Correct. So the whole, whenever someone's like, time to trade Steph, it's twofold. Nobody wants that emotionally, and I don't even think you could if you wanted to.
So you'd have to get next year he makes 55.7. So you'd have to get about $55 million back. So you're going to ask for 2 guys who make 28 apiece.
Right.
Those are probably good players.
You'd think. You'd hope.
And if a team has 2 guys making 28 who aren't very good, the Warriors aren't going to trade Steph for 2 guys making 28 who aren't very good.
I've looked around the league to be like, okay, just give me a stupid, plausible scenario.
Sure.
Can't find it.
No, almost impossible.
Totally.
And the other piece of it is the Draymond piece, which is a lot of fans now, like Judy and Moraga, you asked her directly, and that day at Buonvino, we did the Warriors Summit, and you asked the crowd, and it was decidedly mixed. There's a lot of people who wanted him gone then, before the contract.
And by the way, when exactly, remind me, Buonvino Summit was exactly what month? Do we know?
Let me look it up.
Grandy, Lucas, can anyone? Because it feels like, was that just
May of 23.
Okay, so we're coming. So it was postseason.
Correct.
After they lost to the Lakers.
After they lost to the Lakers. Okay.
May of 23.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh. That team was way more effective than this one. That team was way
last year's team?
Yeah. They were 6 seed.
Right.
And they won a round.
Almost identical records.
Well, we'll see.
Right.
I don't know where it's going to end up.
Right. I think the West is different this year.
That's fair, but if the West is different, the fact that you're not evolving with that means you're lesser than you were before.
Even if you're the same team that you were before, you're also a year older.
Yeah, this team went to Game 6 of the conference semifinals last year.
Right.
You're not doing that this year.
Probably not.
I'm not doing that.
I don't like their chances.
Not all of this.
You're fighting to just be the 10 seed right now. So, yes, in terms of evolution, even if you are having the exact same year results-wise as you did last year, and we always talk process and results, the process of this year that's gotten you these results has been decidedly worse.
And this is a painful thing to feel, and therefore it's a painful thing to say. And I don't mean this like real-world pain.
Right. Sports pain.
Warriors basketball. Yeah. This is a hard thing to say, but this is how I felt last night. After watching this, thinking about it for a second, it's funny. Whitley is doing this awesome content for us here on our digital platforms about the Big Three. And so I don't want to take anything away from that at all. But it's time to stop calling them the Big Three, because that's getting in your way if you're the Warriors. Seeing them as the Big Three, paying them as the Big Three, giving them minutes and power as if they're the Big Three is what's killing the franchise. And I get it. It's incredibly hard to come off of that habit. We haven't known anything other than this for over a decade. Joe Lacob barely even remembers, was barely even around for anything prior to this group being the Big Three. But they are no longer good enough. They are no longer effective enough. And their own history is getting in their way because they are frustrated when they are the 10 seed or when they have to get on a bus to go to Sacramento and win a Game 7. They still act like the champions they are, and I get that because they are, but they're also not anymore. So if you behave in your organization as if you're one thing, but in actuality you're another, you're going to get held back, and you're going to keep getting frustrated. And that's why everybody is so frustrated.
Right.
From Draymond to Steph to Klay, they've all had outward frustration moments throughout the year. And it is all based on the fact that they are not who they used to be, but the organization still wants them to be.
They are making a collective $117 million this year, Mark. 51.9 for Steph, 43.2 for Klay. Draymond, the lowest of his 4-year run-up, he's making only 22.3. It's about $117 million. Next year, Steph goes up to 55.7. Draymond's making 24. So that right there is about $80 million. If you give Klay 25, you're paying the Big Three $105 million for what? To fight for the 10 seed? So I ask you again, are we facing the last 10 games of the Big Three? And I don't just mean them being actually the Big Three, because you make a good case. They're not really the Big Three anymore. They're probably the Big 2.5. Steph is 1.25, and the other two guys are a combined 1.25.
If I ask you who the best 3 players are on the Warriors right now, what would you say?
It would not be the Big Three.
There you go.
It would be Steph and Kuminga and probably Draymond.
Probably.
But, I mean, the number one availability is availability.
Right, but it's all.
I did that wrong, I know.
No, but it's a rotating answer.
Correct.
Some nights it's Draymond. Some nights it's Klay. Some nights it's Andrew Wiggins.
We've talked about who's your 2, and they don't have one.
Yeah.
So to your point, there is no more Big Three, but I'm fascinated to see if these 3 are still Warriors next year, because it feels like this is ending in a way that I didn't see coming.
Yeah. I mean,
Draymond imploding and Klay not playing up to his contract and Steph getting exasperated.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But it's a 2-pronged question always, which is, do you want massive changes? And if you answer yes, then you go, and how do you make massive changes? How? Brad in Oakland. Hi, Brad. What's going on?
Oh, I'm kind of mad at you guys.
Mad at you.
This thing about the big three. Nobody ever. I don't think Warriors or Klay or Draymond called themselves the big three. It was the media calling them the big three. It was the ESPN, TNT, two people calling them the big three. It was Stephen A. Smith calling them the big three.
Well, they were the big three, Brad. There's nothing wrong with that.
That was the media. That was the logo. You guys gave them that. You guys gave them that answer.
But Brad, there's nothing wrong with that, Brad. What's wrong with that? They were the big three. They were. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying they're not producing like that anymore.
They may not be producing that anymore. That's because of their losing history this year. Okay. And you guys have to find them at the big three. I've never seen them come up and say, "We the big three, and we need a statue to be the big three."
You haven't, Brad? Fault, okay? Brad, they did a press conference together a month ago to celebrate the existence of the big three with a mural behind their head.
Well, they had to because it's just like any movie star. They had to, okay?
No, they didn't.
They did a celebration on 11/30/23 for their numbers, which are 11/30 and 23.
I got you, but I have one more thing to say, okay?
Okay.
I'm mad at you, Brad.
Now we're furious with you, and everyone's going to go home unhappy.
Hey, look.
No, go ahead.
I'm still a Warrior fan. Hey, I'm from Oakland, California. You know, I've been around. I went to school. Gary Payton went to. I went to school. Bill Russell went to Oakland. Okay.
Whoop.
What I'm saying is that when it comes to pride, it's not about winning the championship again. It's about the pride of not losing. Okay. If they could go further in the play-in, I think they'd be happy. Okay. But the pride is how far did they go? Okay. And what I also saw was that when Draymond went out, they were supporting Draymond and Curry. They got together and won that game, okay? So that showed me they still supporting Draymond.
Well, and Brad, thank you very much. This is a fun call, but I think that's what people are talking about. Having pride in not losing, even if you're going to go out the right way. That's what people are talking about because everything Draymond did last night represented the opposite of that.
Right.
Like it represented that there was no pride in that. You bark your way out of the game 3 minutes in. That's the opposite of going out the right way.
And we talked about them going out together, all three of them, having their careers terminate at the same time. That feels like just a ridiculous notion looking